So I'm not admitting anybody.
I think we've got a few people already admitted, don't we?
We do, yes. Let me just make sure this is happening. This is new. This is quite new tech for me.
Okay, shall I record as well?
Oh, for the time being, if there are people, right, yep, okay. Let me just make sure this is happening. Yeah, it's happening. This is new. This is quite new tech for me.
Okay, make sure that you turn off your microphone. Okay. Shall I record as well?
For the time being, if there are people, right, yep, okay. Let me just make sure this is happening.
Ekua, you need to mute yourself.
It's happening. I can't. This is new. This is quite new tech for me. So that I can mute
make sure that you
Okay.
Brilliant. Righty-ho, it's 11 o'clock. Should we wait one or two more minutes till we get some more people? Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Who is here? Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Noreen. Hi, Faris. Linda. Brilliant. Where's Linda? Is Linda in? Where is everybody?
All right.
Mona. Brilliant. Hi, Linda. I think this is the first time we're seeing each other.
Oh, fair. Hello.
Hi. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So, welcome everybody. When do you want to start? Should we give it? We'll give it one more minute because there's still a few people who haven't arrived. That's it. Can everybody see my presentation screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So let me speaker screen. That's great. Okay, if everybody, just some housekeeping. If everybody could mute themselves, apart from Prashant and Shabir. And then we'll get started. So welcome, everyone. Welcome to the launch of Veganuary for the Green. Oh, I think somebody's still got their... Who's still got their... Shabir, can you mute yourself? Have you got...
I can. The noise is not from me, but I can mute myself.
Who... Interesting.
I can try.
Where's the noise coming from? Noise is coming from somebody. Oh, that's all right. That's perfect. Okay, cool. Let's get started, everyone. So welcome to our very first session for Veganuary 2025 from the Vegan Green. And it's an absolute pleasure. My name is Farha Sayed. I'm from the Muslim Greens, and I'm going to be chairing this session. And we're holding this session with the Vegan Greens, the Muslim Greens, and Greens for Palestine. So the reason why all three of us have gotten together will become very clear quite soon. And let me just quickly go to our slideshow. So I'm going to be first speaking to Shabir. So if anybody doesn't know, that's the reason why we started this. So we'll be speaking to Shabir because he is doing Veganuary for the very first time. So there's Shabir on our screens. Say hello, Shabir.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
And then our Vegan Greens founder, Prashant, will be speaking to Shabir and giving him some advice of do's and don'ts and what veganism actually is. And then we'll be checking in with Shabir to see how his week has been so far, or how his family have been, I think is a better way of saying that. And then we'll open the floor to anybody else who's been trying Veganuary as well, if anybody wants to share their experiences, or if anyone's got any questions for the people who are very who are veteran vegans. I don't know if anyone's on our vegan group, but we've been sharing lots of lovely... Hello? Asma, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. We've got loads of beautiful photos of everyone's food that we can have a look at. And then the reason why we're here, Shabir is raising money for Swan. We'll be watching a Swan charity video, and then we'll have a look at his final total for week one. So we will get started. So Shabir, how are you? Wait a second. Oh, and we've just gone. Yes, Shabir, how's everything going with you? All right.
Yeah, so it's going well.
It's going well. So why exactly did you put yourself through this? In fact, let's introduce you first. So who are you, Shabir?
Okay, so Shabir Fazal, retired head teacher, green councillor in Accrington, which some of you have heard of. If you're old enough, you remember the milk advert. If you're not old enough, then you won't know what I'm talking about.
Who are
so
they?
why did I go vegan? So basically, I'm well known for all the wrong reasons. So I spend my time posting sarky comments and anti-vegan and anti-vegetarian memes and stuff like that. So I was challenged by colleagues who are on this meeting to do Veganuary, and I set them a challenge back, which was I would do it, but I would only do it if they raise a lot of money for the children in Gaza, which they happily agreed to do. And before I started, I think they got to the minimum total which I demanded, which was £1,000. I've not checked what we're on, but I suspect we're on a bit more than that, which is fantastic. And for me, vegan, it is I'm not a vegan. I'm not a vegetarian. We are a family of omnivores. We do eat a lot of veggies, but we also eat a lot of meat. But like Farah said earlier, it makes you think about what you are eating, and it makes you very conscious of your food choices. So from that perspective, I think it'll be a good thing going forward. And like most men of my age, especially Asian men, I'm now developing all sorts of lifestyle illnesses, the diabetes, the high cholesterol, the blood pressure, all of that hypertension. So, in its own way, this might do me some good as well, because it'll make me think more about what I'm eating and my lifestyle choices. So yeah, that's the sort of the background. Happy to answer questions. I'm trying to give this the seriousness that it deserves. I'm not known for being serious, but I'm absolutely delighted that we are doing something for Gaza, and this gives an opportunity to do that and to think about our food choices. And like a lot of people in the Muslim community, although we do eat a lot of meat, we are becoming much more conscious in terms of the way that meat reaches our table and what happens to those animals on that journey. And some of it's not clever, and it's not something that we can be proud of. So certainly, I've been having conversations for years now about whether we are consuming too much and whether the price that we're paying or the price that the animals are paying so that we can have cheap meat in particular is too high. So there's a whole agenda there, which is not a vegan agenda or a vegetarian agenda, but it's more of an animal welfare agenda, which I think we all need to be conscious of, and whatever our eating habits are, I think it's something that does concern all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Shabir. That's absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to pass you over to Prashant, who, as I said before, he is our amazing Greens for Palestine member. That's how I know Prashant, but also the founder of Vegan Greens. And he's been so supportive so far in my journey this month. So over to you, Prashant.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Farah. Really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if that's all right. Just give me 1 second. Perfect. How's everyone doing? Good.
Good.
All right. Great.
Great.
All right. So I'll get started. Thank you so much. Quick introduction. My name is Prashant Kumbhat. I've been a Green Party member for almost a year now. Got into it because ECUA had hosted an amazing event for Gaza and Palestine in general last year in 2024, which renewed my faith in political parties. Joined the Green Party, got fairly involved fairly quickly, joined the amazing Greens for Palestine, which is where I met, I think, most of the folks who are on this call right now. And just before our conference last year, which was held in Manchester, my home city, I thought about creating an unaffiliated group, which would then get formalized as Vegan Greens. And the whole purpose of creating the group was to advocate for vegans' rights. So, how can we
if
get
you
more...
could, Prashant, if you could switch to slides.
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Slideshow.
Okay, is that better?
That's awesome.
It's going to, yeah, hide video. Okay, great. Yeah, so the whole purpose of founding Vegan Greens, along with Megan, who can't be here today, was basically to advocate for vegans' rights, help our green councillors, help our MPs in passing more green policies, and obviously trying to find a home within political parties for people who are plant-based, people who are vegan, or who are trying to go vegan, and just increase our membership, get the word out about the Green Party. All right, I'll do a quick definition of what veganism is. And I'll share a little bit about my own journey as well, as to how I came to being vegan. So veganism essentially is a philosophy which seeks to exclude, as far as possible and practicable, all forms of exploitation of cruelty to animals. And I think the focus here is as far as possible and practical, because animal exploitation can happen in various different forms. You could have animal being overworked on farms. You could have farms that are actually using animal manure, for example, as fertilizer. I know it doesn't sound all that appeasing or all that palatable, but some of these practices do happen today. And the whole reason for that is animals at some point or the other are being exploited, even if you are going meat free, but it just depends on the kind of products that you're consuming. And of course, the biggest thing that veganism is now trying to do for the last couple of decades is to try and create animal free alternatives. And it's all being done for the benefit of animals. And I think the biggest thing is to just try and avoid as much as you can anything that is derived from animals. And I'll kind of walk over a little list that we can see of things to avoid or not avoid. Right. And I think the biggest thing out here that, vegans in general are careful of are obviously animal exploitation. And the other thing a lot of people, and probably like one major reason why a lot of people do go vegan, is for environmental concerns. And I think what we can do is, perhaps do a slightly deeper dive in our upcoming sessions on what some of the environmental impact is of, meat, dairy, fishing, and see how we can reduce some of that impact in the dietary choices that we can make on a regular basis. All right, so, a couple of things that I just wanted to highlight about what vegans don't eat, buy, consume, or use on a regular basis, just so everyone has like a base understanding of what not to eat, and kind of how to look at products when you're in a grocery store or a supermarket. You can just take a look at the ingredients list and see if some of these products appear in the ingredients list, and as much as you can try and avoid them. I think so the basics would be red, white, or pink meat. So you've got your beef, lamb, pork, etc. You've got poultry, which is chicken, turkey, goose, duck, quail. Obviously any fish, any form of seafood is not allowed in veganism. Dairy again is a big one, and there are multiple reasons why dairy could have been acceptable, maybe a few decades ago, but just because the way it's being farmed and the way that animals are being exploited, dairy is a strict no-no when it comes to going vegan. When we're talking about animal products, you've got eggs from chicken, quails, ostriches, fish, any form of eggs from any animal, any bee products. I know gelatin and lard are super old school, and I think most people avoid them. But those are definitely on the list. You've got leather. So I think the last time I might have bought leather was before I went vegan, which was in 2017. I still use those products, but it's only because I have them, and I haven't bought them since going vegan. Then obviously you've got your dairy ingredients. Now, dairy ingredients are a tricky one, and this is something that really bothers me every time I go and buy, crisps, for example, in the market. So you've still got chip manufacturers or crisp manufacturers who'll have a perfectly vegan product, but they'll have something like 1% milk powder or 1% lactose or 1% or 2% whey in their crisps. So those are things that at least I look out for, and I try to avoid as much as I can. Omega-3 fatty acids, this is a good one for vegans to watch out for, simply because I think the biggest source of omega-3 fatty acids comes from fish oil. So if you've seen those little gel-like capsules that are being sold for omega-3 fatty acids. So most of those products, I would say about almost 60 to 70% of them today are made from fish oil. So obviously as a vegan, I avoid them. But one thing that is fairly new in the market, and it's actually being promoted quite heavily, is omega-3 derived from algae. Now, what's good about that is fish eat algae. So that's where they get their fatty acids from, and then it's derived from fish and put into capsules. So what some of these new manufacturers are doing is basically taking it directly from the algae that grows in fresh water or in salt water, and they're using that to create omega-3 capsules. Shellac, this is kind of a tricky one. It's used a lot in construction, which I probably should have put out here as well. So there are paints, there are varnishes, they're like, different construction material that uses shellac. So I try to avoid that as much as I can when it comes to interior decoration. But also a lot of food manufacturers use that as wax coating on fresh produce, which is kind of sad because you shouldn't have to coat your veggies or your produce, but people still end up doing that. Vitamin D3 is another one, but obviously there are tons of new vegan alternatives. And I think the best way for you to get your vitamin D3 is to just go ahead to the Vegan Society's website. And then they have, I think they have like a multivitamin which has your daily amount of vitamin D3, which is in that pill. And it's all from vegan sources. So you can just definitely go ahead and buy that. Last but not the least, there are multiple additives in food. Obviously these are used in smaller quantities. And I think most people tend to overlook these. But what Megan and I do is we just look for the vegan symbol on any products that we buy. And that will basically assure you that anything that is in that particular food supply chain that includes these additives or any of these other products on this particular page are basically excluded from the entire supply chain. So this is a lot, I know, to digest, but what I can do is I can make this this slide available to people who are interested. You can definitely read that and go ahead and ask me any questions that you might have. I'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you so much.
Perfect.
That's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Super.
So one question. Shall I read the questions out for her?
Yeah, why not?
Please.
Why don't we deal with the questions
One
first?
question is about honey. What's the situation on honey? And the other one is on lichen. Is lichen vegan?
Yeah. So lichen is considered to be vegan, but I'll kind of address honey first. So I think honey comes in different forms, right? Like I've seen a lot of farms that basically don't farm honeybees, right? So any bees that produce honey, they don't farm them. And I'll give you an example. I think most commercially available honey that you see, which is like 2 or 3 pounds for like a little jar, which is about yay big. chances are that those bees are actually being fed sugar,
Yes.
and they're being kept in like a very, very close environment. So they don't actually produce their bee from pollination, but they're just being fed sugar and water, and that's how they're producing that honey. Which is why you can get, honey 24/7, 365 days a year on our supermarket shelves. But it's not good for the bees because there is a high turnover. And what I mean by a high turnover is that those bees don't end up living healthy lives, and they don't end up living their natural life cycle.
Sure.
So that's
Sure.
one. The other way of producing honey, which I think is more sustainable, which I probably still won't consume because you still have to take a look at the practices of beekeepers and bee farmers.
Yeah.
And that is that, they might allow the bees to pollinate, but at the same time, they collect the honey, which is basically food for the bees for the winter when there are no
Yes.
plants for them to,
Yeah.
when they're hibernating and they don't really have plants.
Yeah.
So that kind of becomes their own food source. So if you
Sure.
take that away and then you replace it with like sugar, water, that is again, exploitation of bees.
Yeah.
So I think that's like, those are like the top two reasons why vegans avoid honey products,
Honey.
or any products that come out from bees, basically.
Quick comment, Asia, could you please not respond in between unless your camera's on, because it's disturbing the video that's going out live. Just a point.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what I was doing, but I'll try to stop it. But because I don't know what it was that I did, I
Put your video on.
You're acknowledging. That's what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yeah. I see, we can see you.
I think that there's another question about, what was it?
it was about free range, but
free
Simon
range.
didn't specify what do you mean free range meat, Simon? Is that what you mean? Meat produced in a free range way?
Or
No,
free
no,
range
I've
eggs.
been vegetarian for 40 years. Eggs and milk, dairy
Got you.
produce,
Thank you.
basically.
Yeah.
If you know what source it actually is, can you believe a free range sticker?
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good question, Simon, and thanks for actually bringing this up. So free range means a lot of different things to a lot of different animal farms, right? I'll tell you like a bunch of practices that are very, very prevalent in our own country within the UK, also largely in Europe, and definitely in the US and Australia, which are some of the biggest meat manufacturers, and Brazil as well. Free range could mean that during the initial growth of the farm animal, be it chickens or sheep or calves, they allow them to roam free for a certain number of hours a day, but then they're kept caged for the rest of the time, right? And those rules are, uh, and I've seen this in one of the documentaries, and probably in the next call, what I'll do is I'll do a little bit more research, and I can come up with some of this investigative articles that have been written by investigative journalists. But basically, free range doesn't mean that the animals on the farm running around freely, happily, laying eggs, and then those eggs are then being sent to the market, because there's no way that you can have millions upon billions of eggs being consumed and produced every single day that are being done in this particular manner. So free range, for different countries means a lot of different things. In the UK, for example, free range could basically mean that, yes, for the first couple of weeks of the life of a calf, for example, they're allowed to roam free for a certain number of hours, but then they're kept in captivity, and then they're sent off to the slaughterhouse for veal. Or if it's a female calf, then she's kept in captivity until she is of birthing age, and then they're birthed multiple number of times until they cannot produce any more offspring, and then they're basically slaughtered for meat. There was one stat that I had, and I kind of wish that I had my other deck on hand. But basically, cows can live up to 15 to 18 years. But animal farms actually pride themselves on lessening those number of years to about 6 or 7. And within these 6 or 7 years, they they pride themselves on impregnating cows at least 3 to 4 times so they can produce more offspring. And then in the end, those cows are basically slaughtered for meat. So there's this endless cycle of animal cruelty that goes on in there. Whether we like it or not, animals are being exploited for those reasons. So which is why I think free range is a very dicey term. Um, so if at all you are consuming products that are free range, I would say, and if you want to be more ethical in how you want to consume free range products, I would definitely say try and do a little more research into what that really means in real life, in actual practice, because these lobby groups are so rich and they have these politicians in their grip. So when you come out with these rules and regulations, even in Western countries, there are just so many loopholes that people are just able to exploit and then just put the term free range.
Is milk, can you, does a cow have to have given birth to a calf for it to be milkable always?
That is my understanding, yes, because cows lactate when the calf needs milk. The problem with dairy farming, and I'll give you an example. For example, like my aunt, my father's oldest brother's wife, she had a cow for the longest time in her house, right? And they had a giant yard, they had a cow, um, and she would only take the leftover milk that the calf would not have. So the calf would have his or her share of the milk, and then whatever was left over is what she would then consume for her own purposes. So she would make yogurt, she would make chai from it, she would just consume that milk straight up. However, but the thing is, those practices don't exist anymore, or even if they do, it's on individual farms where that might be happening, and it's basically for those individual farmers or probably like 1 or 2 families around. But in India, where the cow is praised, for example, as a holy animal in Hinduism, right? What's happened is Amul, which is one of the biggest dairy farmers in India, they have basically gone ahead and acquired all of these small farms. And it's not an acquire like an acquisition, but it's basically they've signed contracts like Monsanto has with corn manufacturers and wheat manufacturers, where they say, okay, hey, you know what, for the next 15 years, you guys are going to produce milk for us. So whatever milk your cows produce, we're going to pay you a flat rate and you're going to send us that milk. We'll pasteurize it, we'll homogenize it, we'll fortify it with calcium, and then we'll sell it under the Amul brand. Because what's happening with these individual farmers are people don't have the money to pay for ethical milk. So the next best thing that these farmers can basically do is keep a little milk for themselves, but then sell a majority of that to companies like Amul in India. And then they basically greenwash, pinkwash, whitewash it, and then they sell it to the big market outside. But yeah, my understanding is if it's a cow, it produces milk when it is lactating for its calf, which is why you have multiple pregnancy cycles, and then the cow is basically slaughtered for meat in 6 or 7 years. And one more thing I do want to say is, a lot of the milk, especially in countries like India, doesn't even come from cows. It comes from water buffaloes. So that's the other thing that we need to kind of keep in mind. And there again, a lot of the milking cycle happens while the water buffalo is also lactating.
Yeah.
But that's as far as my knowledge goes. Happy to be educated if others have facts around that.
Fantastic. Prashant, do you have? There's one more question. The question is, if everyone on Earth was vegan, would we be able to produce enough food to feed everyone vegetables without abusing the land?
Oh my God, this. Thank you for asking that question. Yes. I'm going to go ahead and share another slide that I had done. And this was something, just give me 1 second. I'm going to quickly find out where it is because I have these stats on hand. So I think it'll be really good. Give me 1 second.
My understanding is that the land that is currently used for cattle would be used for vegetables, so there'd be plenty of it.
Yeah. And thank you, Simon, for sharing that because that is exactly the stat that I have. But I think presenting numbers would really help build this case. All right, let me know if everybody can see my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. So, just talking from an emissions point of view, 1/3 of total greenhouse gas emissions basically comes from food, right? Of which farm gate, which is everything in animal farming. So whatever happens on the farm to literally the gate of the farm, that's about 7.2 billion metric tons. That amount of greenhouse gas emissions comes only from animal farming. Another 3.5 billion tons comes from land use. So this could be things like, you're cutting down forests to create grazing land, for example. And UK is a prime example of that. Like, you go to a beautiful area like Peak District, which is still lovely to look at. But if you look around you, it is devoid of trees. There is nothing but grazing and farmland all over. And then you've got supply chains. So transporting cattle, and there are massive, massive horror stories of how cattle is being transported for 30 to 40 days across seas, across oceans, where you literally have cattle standing and they're being transported all the way through from Australia to another place, or from Spain or some other place, to another port of call. So all of those supply chain emissions come to about total to about 5.8 billion metric tons. So this is quite a lot. In terms of the hectares of land that we're using right now for animal farming only is about 4.13 billion land. Now, what's funny about this figure is the amount of crops, or the amount of plants that we are growing to feed the animals so they can be fattened up for more meat is a lot more. It's almost 3 to 4 times more than what is needed to just feed humans if they were all on a vegan diet, for example. So there's tons of savings, in terms of land that is being used, and also greenhouse gas emissions. If everyone were to go vegan overnight, but obviously that is not going to happen. But purely from a statistics point of view, these are some of the numbers that we're looking at.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Very powerful. Very powerful indeed.
Thank you. And I really appreciate the questions. I think it's definitely a lot more that I can prepare for our next calls and make some of these conversations even more interesting. Thank you, Simon. Really appreciate it.
Another one. Lab-grown milk, dairy, meat. Are there any downsides to that, apart from the fact that there isn't any in this? It would probably cost a lot.
Yeah, there's I haven't kept up with it in the last 1 or 2 years, but I was keeping up with a lot of the research around growing milk and meat in labs, it comes down to the amount of investment that is required. And I know in the US and in some European countries, there is a lot of money that is being poured into it, where people have actually been able to 3D print meat, and they've been able to replicate fats within meat so it tastes like the real thing. Because I think the appeal of a steak, for example, is the fat content in the steak, which is what kind of caramelizes the steak on top, and which is what kind of gets all your taste buds going. So they've been able to replicate that. Obviously, it's not at scale, because those processes are extremely expensive, and very resource intensive. But the whole point of doing that research is to see if you can at least try to produce it at some scale where people who can afford it can kind of opt in for it. And as there is more demand, obviously the prices of all of those kind of meats is going to go down. With dairy, that's a very interesting point that you brought up. I think in dairy, it is not that difficult to replicate. I think the biggest thing in dairy is casein, which is a protein which gives cheese the texture that it gets today, which is not which still can be replicated to a certain extent in plant-based cheese, but obviously it's not comparable to dairy-based cheeses. But there is a company in the US, I think it's called Perfect Day, which has done a lot of research in replicating casein and basically producing the protein casein in a lab. And their hope is in the next, probably by 2035, they should be able to bring down the price of artificially produced milk down to actual dairy milk. And hopefully at that point in time, they might just be able to replace it with dairy milk. So you won't need animals for that. There are again, there is a big debate going on around this. There are some vegans who are purists. So they say that if there's even if there is a single cell of animal, even if there's a single cell that is derived from an animal or an animal product that is being used and being replicated in a lab, they won't eat it. And to each their own, obviously. People have religious beliefs, people have philosophical beliefs. um, I don't think anybody needs to debate that. But again, if there is a market for people who want to transition to artificially produced milk or lab grown meats, for example, and if that helps in reducing animal cruelty, uh, then more power to them for making those choices. Uh, and obviously, if there are people who have totally given up meat products, then they've already kind of made up their mind, and they're not partaking in any of those practices. But
That's brilliant.
yeah, that's a really good question, Simon. Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you so much, Prashant. That was absolutely amazing. Really, really in-depth look at that. Linda made some great points on the chat regarding ultra-processed foods and the fact that these fake meats they are ultra-processed foods, and they're not really very nutrition worthy, to be honest with you. So I know that a Food and Agriculture Committee and Health Committee are sort of on the same page as that. I think as a Green Party, we are looking at better labeling around those ultra processed foods. So I really hope that going forward, whether it be Muslim Greens, Food and Agriculture, Health Committee, we can all work together to really push this kind of health drive in the way that we eat and the way that we grow our food and source our food and things like that. But this is what this is all about, all of the different groups coming together, which is great to be singing from the same hymn sheet. Absolutely brilliant. I wanted to ask anybody, if anyone has been trying Veganuary, if they wanted to give a little bit of how they've been finding it. Eku, I know that you've been with me on this journey so far.
Hello. Can you hear or see me? I'm not sure which.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Yes, I am on the journey. I'm finding like the difficulty is if you're not at home, or like if you've not scheduled around your food. So I definitely got hangry the other day without really knowing what was going on because I hadn't eaten enough. Though my host here might disagree that I ever ate enough. Apart from that, I mean, I have quite a lot of experience with vegan food. I was married to a vegan for several years, and actually, I really enjoy the textures and flavors that you can get. I don't do Brussels sprouts ever, but there was some in the house, so I roasted some with peanuts, and it was delicious. And then my IBS kicked in. Yay!
Yeah, I know it's really, really difficult when you've got those health needs as well, and kind of trying to match both of those things up. I mean, me myself over Christmas, I had my in-laws over, so I was entertaining and I was trying to do everything, and I did not meal prep, and I was falling apart. I think on the vegan group, it was quite clear that I wasn't coping. So, but I got it together. My husband took me shopping, and he was like, "Buy what you wish quickly before you get hangry again." So while I had the intention of starting Veganuary, not having any ultra processed freaky meats, fake meats, unfortunately, I may have dipped in and bought some weird and wonderful mints and burgers to just feed the kids so that I know that they're fed. So, but let's see how we go going forward. Okay, so what was next on the agenda? Wait a second, let's have a look. What was next on the agenda? It was yeah, all of our lovely photos. So let me get those up. Wait a second. I will share my screen again. There we go. So I don't know if you recognize this, Ekua. I think that's your cake.
That's my first attempt at vegan banana cake.
That's
and
right.
also we'll add cooked in an agar. And that's
all very good.
Yes.
Very good. And I think somebody had got some vegan fondue. I don't know how that works. Like, that's really interesting, but I'm pretty sure that there's some plastic mixed in there or something. I mean, how does it work? I don't understand. How can you have vegan cheese? But anywho, this looked absolutely delicious. I'm not sure who made that. That was beans.
Julian. That was Julian.
Was it Gillian? Oh, it's really yum. And this one, was it you, Arcia?
I think that might be Gillian. That's her.
Was that Gillian again? Yeah.
I think it might be. Yeah, that's me.
That's you. Yeah.
That kept me going for the entire day. I made a huge chana masala in the morning, and then dipped into it for the rest of the day with cashews, with grapes, with not in the same plate, but that kept me going for the day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is my mum, bless her. She had made me khichdi and some pickle. So I had that for lunch one day. I think somebody had gone out for a pub meal and they had it was vegan chicken wrap. So it was quite nice. And Prashant, what was this? You had made this, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's made from gram flour or chickpea flour.
Is this
flour. Sorry?
Is it savory or sweet?
It's savory. It's savory. Yeah, Megan does all the sweet baking. I do all the savory stuff. But yeah, it's an amazing form of protein and good decent form of carbs as well. It fills your tummy really really quickly, and it's just gram flour, water, a little bit of baking powder, a little bit of apple cider vinegar. So
what's it called? What's it called?
So it's a derivative of dhokla, khaman dhokla.
Okay, right, yeah.
But obviously it's a lot less dry because I don't add any sugar or any like oil to it.
Okay.
But it's great with chutneys and any sauces like barbecue sauce. Yeah.
Fantastic. So someone's breakfast. This breakfast looks yummy. I think obviously.
That's Ekua. Yeah.
Was it Ekua?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's not me.
Is that not you? This is me. I'd made my fake chicken, so I got the tofu and ripped it up and then put corn flour on it and fried it and then put it in butter. Was it cashew butter sauce? I think it was that I'd made. So that was good. And then I think this is vegan pizzas. I know Shabir loves vegan pizza. He absolutely adores it. And vegan meatballs. And I think this is you, Arcia, wasn't it? Some lovely noodles.
That was that's amazing.
Yeah, so we'll quickly skip through these and then we'll get to the swan video. So this is katsu curry, and I don't know who made this, but this looks
Prashant, that was Prashant.
Prashant, was that
Yeah,
you?
made
That
this
was
last night.
that looks scrummy. What is it?
So it's basically it's tofu.
Yeah.
You take a block of tofu, press it for 15 minutes, not the full day, Farah, just 15 minutes. Slice it in half, make incisions on top, and then put whatever dressing you want on top. So this dressing is a ton of hot sauce with soy sauce and hoisin sauce
Yum.
to get that sweet,
Gorgeous.
salty, and spicy flavors going. And then
Yeah.
you bake it at 170 for about 45 minutes to an hour. And in the middle, what I do is I put that dressing once again on it. So when
Yeah.
it comes out, you get all of these, you get this beautiful shape. And as it's baking, all the liquids basically seep into the tofu. So when you bite into it, you've got all of those flavors just bursting out.
Yeah. Amazing. That looks really yum. Was that beans on the side?
Those are beans, yeah.
Green beans.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Well, this looks really, really good. I'm gonna close this and then go back to my screen. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So this is a video from Swan. So we're going to go back to the reason why Shabir is doing this for Veganuary. And there's an amazing charity, and I think that the CEO from Swan is still here. She's logged on. But they sent me a video as to the food that they are distributing there. So hopefully this will work. Let's see.
Can you change to presentation mode, please?
Okay, yes, of course. Sorry. Let's do that.
Does this have sound?
Oh yeah, can you not hear it?
No.
No.
What happened is when you shared, you
Yeah.
didn't tick the boxes to say share sound.
Oh
So
no. Okay.
it's all right. You can start again. It's gonna take seconds.
Like unshare then.
Unshare, go back in, and just before you select this screen,
Yeah.
you'll see it says optimize sound. There's two boxes you tick at the bottom.
Okay, fair enough. Sorry about that, everyone.
Can you see that?
No. Oh, share sound. Yep. Optimize video for sharing. Okay, brilliant. Thank you for that. Apologies, everyone.
That's okay.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today is Thursday, the 10th of October 2024. War is in its second year now. We are in the northern area of Gaza, devastated area, bleeding, starving as well. People are in dire need for the basic things, for food, for clothing, for everything. These hot meals are generous donation from Swan. They are meant to be distributed to the evacuees who fled their houses as a result of the ongoing atrocious war against them. We would like to thank Swan for this generous donation. They are always standing by our side. Thank you again. May Allah bless you. May Allah protect you and your loved ones. May Allah reward you the highest in Al-Jannah with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Thank you again. Barakallah fikum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I think that was that. That's brilliant. Oops. You guys still there? Oh, don't know what's happened. Okay. Ooh. Can you all still see me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
You want to stop share, or do you want some more things you want to share?
No, that's
Just go to the top and stop share.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So basically, there is
you need to stop screen share, I think.
No, I wanna carry on sharing.
Sorry.
I want to carry on sharing. Stop trying to make me stop sharing. So hopefully we've raised a little bit more money. Shabir, you can come in here and tell me what your target was at each stage.
Yeah, so we have a very ambitious target. So I needed you guys to raise £1,000 before I got started, which we did. And then we were aiming for a 5K total by the end of the month. So we're looking for a weekly contribution of another £1,000.
Do you think that that's achievable? Do you think we can all do it? I don't know.
I think everything's achievable. I don't think we're on track at the moment. I think that it's going to be quiet in terms of the fundraising. So we need to sort of put some more effort into sharing with our wider groups. That original £1,000, when I looked at the totals, it came from quite a small number of people who probably on this call.
Yeah.
So we need to get out there. And the Swan video will help because people are asking me about where it was going and what it was doing. So if they could actually see some of that stuff, I think that would help to generate more donations.
So I'm gonna reveal the grand total for week 1, and we have raised £1,230 and 1 pence. And I really hope that in this next week we can get to, because we should have been at 2,000 already. So I'm hoping that we can get to 3,000 by the end of the week. That will be a real push. But if anybody's got any ideas of how they could do that, who they could reach out to, or reach out to their local parties, that would be absolutely amazing. I know in our final meeting, we've got Saika, the CEO of Swan, who will be talking to us about the projects there. So it'll be brilliant to hear from her. But in the meantime, it'd be great to raise some more money. And each week I'm going to be showing you a different video for a different project that Swan are doing. So I hope that that makes things nice and clear for everybody, so everybody's aware of where that money is going and how useful it's how it's affecting people's lives, real people. But this was an amazing session. Thank you so much for everybody who's been taking part in Veganuary, taking part in this call and asked really sensible, fantastic questions which are helpful. There's just one more thing. If at all possible, it would be great if people could start sharing their own pictures of what they've been eating. So if you use the hashtags, vegan for Gaza or VEGN vegan or vegan greens, that would be brilliant. That way we can see what everybody's doing, and it will hopefully provide some momentum for raising money as well if we're doing this. But thank you so much. Thank you everybody who's taken part. Thank you, Prashant, for giving your time to this as well. And Prashant will be with me each week to really explore more about Veganuary. So thank you everyone, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week.
Take care. Thank you.
Great job,
Amazing.
Sarah.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone. Keep donating.
Keep
Stay
donating.
strong, Shabir.
The person who wants to join the groups, I've given you my phone number in the chat. Just give me a call and I'll hook you up.
Thank you so much, Ekua, and Alice.
Thank you guys.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Well done.
Bye guys. Prashant and Asya, you can stay on the call. Shabir, stay on the call.
I'm staying on the call, even if you haven't invited me.
And Ekua, yes, of course, Ekua, stay on the call. We'll all. Faris, I'll see you, Faris.
Excellent. Paris isn't going anywhere, I think. Okay, that's us now.
Yeah.
So we can, I'm going to change. Oh, I need to stop the share.